Okay, so taking the center strip now, the front seal, I've applied contact cement to the bottom of my trimmed off top, and now I'm going to start to apply this. The trick to this is the front tangent of this needs to stay right under this lip, okay? So you don't want it sticking out. And the idea is you find your center mark, get it somewhere near right. Oops. And stick it to your masking, of course. Then start applying it, but you got to roll the edge up a little bit, obviously. Okay. Now I'm going to start working it. I'm just going to stick that like that for a sec so I can work this edge. And I'm going to just keep working the edge down and rolling it up at the same time so my material is kind of bunching up underneath the bull nose. There you go. Now, and then down here, we're going to pucker it again, of course, when it gets into this sharp corner. And you got to kind of twist it a little bit as you go. Yeah, I got to pull that down a little. There we go. Okay. And just keep that kind of matched up to the front of the top. Crap. Yeah, it didn't work out so good. And roll it around the edge so that when it gets off to the side, it's pretty happy. All right, that's not bad. Just gonna keep pressure on that, working it in, then I'll staple it off. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to take my stapler, flip up the outer seal, and get in here with the stapler and just start stapling that off. It's a little hard to feel the tack strip now, but we'll get there. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to start from the middle and go to the seam on the other side. Just get this nailed off. Pretty good. I keep checking it to make sure I'm not wandering. All right. That feels pretty good. Now I'm going to come back over here, keep working around this corner after this big seam. Oops, double shot. Okay. All right, let me bring you in here. Matt, you want to shut that? Okay, next we're gonna trim these ends off where they need to go. And to do that, you just take a good sharp blade and you get in here between the two layers of fabric or vinyl until you're feeling the threads. And you just cut the threads, the stitching out. And you cut the stitching back a ways. Now, yeah, I threw some clamps on here just to help the glue set up a little bit. Then you peel the material back until it's even with the edge, just about. In a little bit, probably a 1/4 inch. And then just cut the foam away. Careful not to cut the fabric. All right, and then pull that back tight, and we'll fold that over and dress that off in a minute. Okay, so here's what we've got. I have trimmed this edge up, cleaned it up best I could, tried to get the seam so it was headed back that way a little bit so it wouldn't interfere with the weather stripping. Then I sprayed some contact adhesive between the two layers here, and I've got that, so I'm just sealing that up now. Just gonna hold that down. You have to put one staple back in here just to hold everything together, and I think I've got mine in the wrong spot because it hit something. And typically from the factory, what they would do is take that one staple and paint it black. But you want to get that right down into the tack strip here in the corner, just to keep everything nice and tight on that corner. And then just work your way across, adhering the contact adhesive to the two layers of this front bow, or this front strip. Then I'll work my way over to the other side. Once that's done, and I'm happy with it. Oh, that's a high staple there. You can also see I threw a few clamps on here just to help me manage everything. And once that's adhered well, I'll trim this lip back to the same place, back here just before the weather stripping. So that should do it. Nice. Okay, the last thing I need to do is fold this side up, same as I did over there. Contact adhesive is ready. And I've just brought that in. Throw some clamps where it's important. Got a little bit happy with the glue here in a couple spots, but once that's pushed down, that'll take care of that. All right, so I'm gonna just take this now, get my staple gun over here and knock that one staple in the corner. Then I'm gonna leave those clamps on overnight. Just so it's good when I come back. Nope. This thing is misfiring the longer staples once in a while. They'll just fold them up on one side. Not sure why. Not sure I care. There we go. It's a good solid staple there. Hold this down like this. Use one of these longer reach clamps in there. Keep everything where it's supposed to be. Till tomorrow. And that's it. That's it for that header bow. The next thing we're going to do are these little side flap thingies. So, yeah, let me grab a couple of these and we're good for that. Just trying to keep it down in here tight so the cement has a chance to work well. And you want to get off any excess while it's still pliable and you can roll it off like a booger. There we go. That looks pretty good. Like I said, I'm going to let that sit overnight now. And then in the morning, I'm going to like put one right here. In the morning, we're going to come back and trim that off to the proper length. All right, it's the next morning. We'll see how this all held up. A little bit of extra squeeze out here I just got to take care of. But yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, now I've just got to go through and work out the trimming this all up and getting it to lay in there flat so I can get my weather stripping in. And that should do it for that front strip. I'm a little proud here in a couple spots, but it's even, so I think that's okay. All right, let's see what we get when we fold it down and see how it fits. All right, so that's the seal, how it's supposed to sit against the windshield. I did pull it down and clamp it. Everything else looks pretty good. I've still got to glue the flaps under here next. Then I'll open it back up and do the front weather stripping. Then I've got to do the flaps in the back window, pull those wrinkles, and this thing's pretty much there. This does not suck at all. I'm pretty happy with how that came out. And it was certainly cheaper than having a, quote, professional do it. I had a quote for about $3,500 to put the top on it. $3,700, I think. That included the top, but yeah, I'm about $800 into the top. So, you know, hey, is what it is. So yeah, I'm gonna just let that sit. I've got the heaters in there again. It was closed up overnight and it was kind of cool, so I just want to give everything a chance to reacclimate here. And then I will adjust it one more time. Well, I'm gonna do those front flaps first, put on my front weather stripping, which is a bit of a trick. I'm gonna take you through that. I haven't really seen a lot on that. But you want to get it to seal good, but at the same time, you don't want it to be able to, you know, water to get up underneath that front trim piece either. So we'll get through it, and I'll show you where we're at in a bit. Okay, so I've glued the inside flaps with just some contact cement. I'm going to let those set up for a few minutes and kind of do its thing. They're not your last chance. You can pull the flap a little tighter when you start to do the weather stripping, which we're going to do next. But I thought while we're at it and we're out here, why don't we just finish up this they call this a wire-on strip. I'm not sure why. So if anybody knows, put it in the comments. So I've marked my the end of my tack strip. I've moved up about an inch, 7/8, and that's where I'm going to start this wire-on strip. Now the strip comes flat. You just bend it up into a 90-degree angle. Then keep the fat part high, because you're going to want to fold it this way so water doesn't get trapped in. All right, so I'm going to start here, and the idea is you're just covering staples with this thing. That's all this does. There's really no other purpose for it. All right, get it lined up, get it covering my staples. There's my first one. Okay, so now I'm just going to take that, run it over here, pulling it tight as I go up around the corner, making sure it's laying flat. Then I'm going to put a few more in this. Biggest thing is just make sure you're covering those staples. That's the whole point of this thing. Look at it from both sides. Make sure you're not gonna expose staples when you fold it up, like I just did. Okay, so I'm pulling them back out. So there you go, lesson number one. Cheat it up closer to the bottom of the staples, because when you fold it, it will expose the top a hair. I've kind of felt like those staples should be sealed up with something too, like a piece of maybe some RTV or something. But nobody does that, so I'm not gonna break new ground on it. Okay, here we go. We're gonna try that again. I'm gonna try to keep my staples right under that bead in the back. Work my way around. And this is why it was important to get those staples on straight. There we go. Now when I fold it over, it hides the staples beautifully. Okay, so I'm gonna deviate a little bit, stretch it over to the other side just to make sure everything's okay there before I go any further. It's a little unruly. Yeah, I got a ton of material. I'm fine there. All right, I'm just gonna I'm gonna throw a piece of tape over here just to keep it from scratching up my window. But then I'll work from the other side over to here. Tape won't stick, of course. You know, it is what it is. Okay. So I'm gonna keep going across my seam here. Keep pulling it nice and tight, keeping it nice and straight. Okay, now you just fold that over. I've already started on that end, and that's it. You literally just push it back down, cover those staples. Now the final step is to put the little finials on the end. If you look really close, you can still see a staple or two peeking out under there, but I'm not too worried about it. This is a fairly thin one. I thought they were a little wider than this, but I might take a roller and just roll this out to get it a little flatter in a little bit. But next step is the finial. This is pretty self-explanatory. Now you just take this, slap it over the end, and drop a screw through it. Right into the tack strip. Gonna mark it. Pre-drill it. Little, just to get through the fabrics. Little 1/8 inch centering drill. Okay, and then pop the old finial on there and screw it home. Okay, that's more like it. And you just screw that right into the tack strip and tighten it down until it seals up the end completely. And that's that. That's it for that rear wire on, they call it. I don't know why. It's a GM thing. All right, so I've put in the front piece of weather stripping. There's 2 screws that hold it here and here. That's kind of the rigid mount. Then, this has got to go down in a little more. It's like it's bent up rather than down. I'm just going to smack it down with a hammer once I get going. And then there's a bunch of these small clips that pick up these holes across the front. I'm going to put some weather strip adhesive right here at the back of this piece of strip from the front seal, and then I will attach these. But the problem is this piece of weather stripping that I got, none of these holes line up. I mean, they're way off. So I'm going to go through and replace all of those, get that stuck down, and I should be good to go. Okay, there we go. We got it all glued in and attached. Looks pretty good. I'm going to close the top up now and let that set right up, and then I'll work on the other pieces of weather stripping. Okay, so the last thing I had to do was get these window seals in, starting from here. Although I do seem to have a little gap up here that I want to look into, because that'll whistle. And then goes all the way back, down, and you got to kind of work out these joints so that they interface properly. I found that after I got the front piece on, if I put this one on loose and with the top folded up and slid it forward a little bit, and then this one pretty much down all the way this way, then they kind of line themselves up when you tighten it up, and then you just tighten up the screws. I mean, they line themselves up when you put the top down. So this was a few long videos, but I wanted to kind of get as much detail out there as I could on this. It's got a little wrinkle right there now, but I don't know. I'm gonna wait and see now when I get it out in the sunlight, and you know, relax, contract, get all that, see what it looks like. I can always pull that rear strip off one more time if I need to. Like this is a weird little wrinkle here, but it's nothing pushing behind it. I don't know what that is, but it looks like it was just kind of in the top. I could probably steam that out right now if I wanted to. And But yeah, so that's it really. Pretty much there. Don't think I would add anything else to it. I mean, this wasn't a fun job for sure, but it's doable. You know, for the money it saved me, it was well worth my time. So, you know, looking back on it on the suck scale, it was about a 7, but it wasn't an 11. So anyway, let's. I'm going to wrap this one up. Hopefully this helps somebody out. And I tried to show as much detail as I could on this because there were very few videos that went into immense detail on it. And I know why, because it's tedious. So, is what it is. She's sorted out now. Next thing I've got to do is I'm just going to check the fit on the windows one more time, get all that adjusted up, and then I'm on to interior. So that'll be exciting. I don't need to take you through the window adjustment again. We've seen that a few times now. But I've also got some windows, like these windows here are going up and down really mean. It's like they're tight, too tight. That one over there, I believe, is too tight right here. But I've got to address that. So, going to just kind of move along and end this here and see what else we can do.